The one that says start.
It's just gonna be adjustment.
I think it's the top one, maybe. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the WIU Podcast, the video edition. This is episode 2 of the video edition. I am your gracious host today, I guess. Walker Ford, also grandfather of this podcast and, the guy with the computer. With me today is...
Andrew Longcorth, faculty advisor for WIUP-FM. Shout out to all the members. Hello.
Malusi Kitchen, 4-year member of WIUP-FM, sports director, and just resident, just helper out of like pretty much anybody and everything with the radio station.
Logan Barrier, 4-year BPM DJ, and general lazybody. Still
There.
wondering why we're doing a video podcast.
Because
we're radio.
it's the future, you gotta... So it gives incentive for people to look at it on YouTube,
I guess.
Because then you get to see pretty
Smart
Malusi,
thinking. Smart
you get to see
thinking.
Andrew, you get to see you.
You
and
don't
then
want to see me, but call it
and then they just
multimedia.
put like a post-it note over this part of the video. Is typically how it works? All right, so I know you have...
Yeah.
To go over how it works, 3 people are supposed to bring topics, but everyone kind of dropped the ball or just couldn't find a whole lot of interesting.
I have a
so
topic, but it's not a fun one.
He has a topic, but we learned from last episode that we want to start off with not the most serious and kind of depressing one. So we're going to go first. Amongst the 3 of us, I'm assuming we can come up with something.
Yeah.
I
What do we
think
think?
so.
Let's see where the conversation takes us, and then we'll
Thinking movies?
we're good.
I would say start with movies. Mine's not depressing, but it is a little cynical, so might want to save that one too.
All right. The Oscars happened since the last time we did this, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
All right. What do we think of the Oscars?
Woo, man.
Woo, man.
It's funny. They had the whole, Oscar so white thing. And I really thought, well, after watching it, I didn't really get to watch it. I saw my friend. I watched the reviews. But after watching it, my friend told me I saw the reviews. I loved Chris Rock, the way he handled the situation. I thought it was very professional. And he hit on everything that was going to be hit on anyway. I'm pretty sure, like, as soon as he heard about this, he was like, this is what I'm going to do. But, the thing about the Oscars is that I usually ask my friend Sam Owak about movies. And most of the movies in the Oscars aren't marketed to the masses. So when you ask people, this movie's at the Oscars, most people don't know. I didn't know. Like The Big Short, Spotlight. I mean, I heard they're, after now you hear they're great films and
Right.
stuff like after the fact. But you want to know before the fact, at least in my opinion. So that way we can have an opinion on them. Because every time I watch the Oscars, I don't know about you guys, but I just feel like, oh, these are a bunch of movies that I've never heard before that are just coming out of nowhere.
They're movies made to win Oscars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was my biggest complaint this year is I was very sour that Mad Max didn't win the Best Picture and that Spotlight did. And just looking at Spotlight, I haven't seen Spotlight though. So I can't truly judge how good it was. But just looking at the description of it, it just screams, I want an Oscar. I want an Oscar. I got an Oscar. All right, you can forget about this movie for the rest of time. We did what we did.
That's an interesting take because Mad Max did clean up, and I haven't seen that. But
Oh,
story-wise, I find it's interesting to see what kind of movies you end up getting, right? Where you have Mad Max and Spotlight in the same contention for Best Picture. From a story narrative perspective, they are pretty different.
but then
So it's interesting.
see, you bring up story and narrative, and that's one of my things for like Best Picture. And it seems like story and narrative seems to be a big part of winning Best Picture, which it should be, I guess. But Spotlight won like Best Screenplay or Adapted Screenplay or something. Then I feel like that should pretty much cover if the movie has a really good story. But something like Mad Max, on your hand, is just like this masterpiece of like just filmmaking on a technical aspect. Like just every part of that was put together so perfectly.
Well,
And it's like,
I remember with Spotlight, I saw a trailer for it. God, I want to say it was before I saw Age of Ultron
ugh.
in theater. I saw a trailer for
Nice.
Spotlight.
Interesting
and I was like,
juxtaposition there.
all right. A movie with Mark Ruffalo about a Catholic church sex scandal. And then I never saw anything about it ever again until it showed up at the Oscars. And I was like, Oh yeah, that's what that movie was.
Well, I saw the trailer too initially. It was probably at the same time. I don't even remember. But I saw it and thought like, yeah, that's gonna be what that's about. It's gonna be about the church thing. It's gonna be
Yeah,
controversial and people are gonna like it. And I don't ever have to worry about it.
yeah,
And
no.
then next thing you know, it wins.
I thought it was funny. I don't know if you guys watched the Oscars, but the part where Chris Rock went out on the street and he asked the
That was
people, that
fantastic.
was so funny. And that's like, if that was me, that's exactly how I would have felt too. Because I had no idea about any of these movies. Like, maybe I just feel like if they're gonna do that, like you said, like Oscar-worthy films, at least put it maybe market one or two of them so we know about them. You
Yeah.
know, not because a lot of
But
them were under marketed and they're like, I was talking to a friend of mine and some of them are, they're not filmed for the masses,
Right.
people say, which is okay. I get it. But at the same time, I was telling my friend, how can you fault somebody for not knowing if you don't even know where to go look? Like, I didn't
Oops.
even know how to find the trailers. Now you see them on iTunes. I was looking at movies yesterday,
Yeah.
coincidentally.
Right? It's interesting
And
that be like
yeah,
they go to the masses after. They
right. And
actually
it's
get
just after the fact that we
accolades.
know. And they're like,
Right.
I think that's just not right at all. Because now we look stupid. But
well, I think it's okay to have a movie that like nobody's seen be like among Oscar contenders if it's that good. But I feel like there should also be something to said for just like the pure cultural impact of a movie. Like how many just places have you gone and you just see people like still talking about like Spotlight, or how many like cool Spotlight gifs and posters you see everywhere. But like Mad Max is everywhere. I'm really sour about Mad Max not winning.
I
But
couldn't
like
tell.
just the
Yeah.
cultural impact of that movie, like it's such a fantastic
You're
action
talking about
movie.
Mad Max?
Yeah.
I've never seen Mad
Can
Max.
you
Ah.
explain the story then?
They get in the
It's
truck,
a 3-hour car chase.
they go somewhere,
That's what
and
I
then they
thought.
turn around,
Okay.
and that's pretty much it. But like
So you can make a GIF of that. Spotlight is a little bit harder to find something in there that's
Yeah.
like
that's true, but like there's something to be said for taking something like going for that like simple action movie thing and then committing to that so fully that you end up with this almost perfect movie, which in my opinion, Mad Max Fury Road is a perfect movie. Like
I've heard a
there's
lot of
no
people
part
say
of that where
yeah.
I feel like there's wasted time. There's no part in that movie where I felt like I don't want to be here. The whole movie, I was committed the entire time. I saw Mad Max 4 times in the theaters. I didn't see
Wow.
Spotlight once. I watched one trailer and that was it.
I do want to. I mean, the scenes that they show on the Oscars do look riveting from
It's
Spotlight.
just
Absolutely.
I remember the trailer was super actiony. There was like daring music for Spotlight,
Yeah.
and Mark Ruffalo's running around. They're like, if this story comes out, it's gonna be the end for us.
Dun, dun, dun.
But I imagine like half the movie was it just like them like talking like really serious like in the office? Was that
Oh, well, no, it's more about the whole like Logan said, the Catholic church scandal and stuff. But they show it's really funny because when I look at the trailers now, like the trailers they'll have really quick transitions from a running scene to them talking, and then they'll have like the music under it.
Right.
So you get the suspense feel like something's like happening. But I don't think that's what all. I haven't seen the movie. I want to, but from what I have seen, I think that they're very whoever edited the trailer, they're very good at picking the certain scenes in
Yeah.
the movie and making it seem like this is so dramatic, but I don't think it is. Like all throughout the movie.
And then
It's
you
not like-
actually watch it, and
Yeah.
it's a 2-hour movie about journalists doing journalism.
exactly.
and
So
you're
it's
like,
just
oh.
like it's just to get people to watch the movie.
which I think there should be an Oscar like an Oscar award for best trailer, because there are some really really good trailers. Some of the Mad Max trailers were I still watch them just because they're so cool with like the music and just like the perfect like just so
It does
great.
really draw you in.
I-
And there's like some trailers I've seen for movies that are just absolutely terrible. I can't even remember the name of them. They're just that awful. But they're really good trailers.
I think making a movie for the Oscars feels like it defeats the purpose of the Oscars being a movie awards,
Exactly.
because
Interesting.
a whole bunch of people would have sat down and okayed the idea of making a movie based on a true story about journalists investigating a church scandal in Boston. And I really doubt they were like, we're going to make a lot of revenue from this movie and we'll be able to make sequels and theme parks based off of the movie. But they were more like, this is going to get a lot of critical
good point.
acclaim.
Once it wins the Oscar, I wonder if there's a I have to look this up, but I wonder if there's a thing where once a movie wins the Oscar, especially like ones that nobody's seen really that much,
Mhm.
if just like afterwards, like there's this Scott Pilgrim effect where everybody's watching it on DVD, like renting and renting and renting. It's like the one time of the year where like Family Video is actually
Yeah.
a functioning store again.
I'd probably watch Spotlight. It'd be down on my list though. I'd have to
Yeah.
watch a bunch of other
It's
stuff.
not
before
even
it.
on my list right now.
I mean, I'm gonna watch it just out of plain curiosity. Like, I'm super curious to see.
Did anybody else see any of the other best picture nominations?
What was it, like, The Revenant?
Yeah, The
They're
Revenant,
all
Yeah,
dramas.
The Big Short,
Most
I
of
think,
them.
was
Big
Most of them,
Short,
right?
The Room, something else. Actually, I don't remember what they are. Anybody see The Revenant though?
I've not
No.
seen it yet.
Should not have been nominated for Best Picture.
Really?
Yeah, that was probably like the worst Best Picture nomination, or like the one that made the least sense since like District 9, which I love District 9, but like I just thought it was really, really cool. I didn't think it was really Best Picture worthy.
right?
Maybe
Isn't that why they have like cinematography? I mean, that's
Yeah.
definitely a celebrated aspect.
maybe
but-
Charlton Copley should have been nominated for
See,
actor, but
I think that's more the stuff that should be nominated for awards like the Oscars. They made a movie like District 9 to make a movie. Like
They
he
did.
just wanted to tell a story, and so many people liked
But-
it that it got nominated for awards.
but I guess I'm in the group of people who think that the Oscars should be more based on the actual technical aspects of the movies. I thought District 9 was a really cool movie, and I think that the performances were really good in it. But as a movie as a whole, it's kind of a simple story. It was just a really cool thing to look at, but it was like kind of just like one of those mockumentary sort of things, except not a mockumentary. What's the fake documentary?
No, it was a
Mhm.
mockumentary.
That was
it?
It was
I guess
mocking a documentary style.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that does refer more to. I mean, you can have different types of mockumentary.
I just think I was a little weirded out that a mockumentary got nominated for Best Picture. But the special effects were awesome. I think it got nominated for special effects, didn't it? Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think that Charlton Copley should have been nominated himself. But
Anyway,
Um,
Revenant. You didn't
Revenant.
think it should.
no, I saw The Revenant. I saw
I heard the bear scene was really good. The opening scene people really loved.
I mean, it all
Yeah.
got a lot of buzz.
Like,
this is
okay,
one of the
so
best masterpieces ever.
The Revenant looked absolutely amazing. The bear scene.
You
and
sound
the
like you were let down from the way you're going with it.
kind of. I was like half lit down, half not. It was one of those.
I mean, they were saying it was Leo's best career performance.
and
This
I'll
is
get to
after
that.
The Beach came out, by the way.
I'll get to that in a minute. The bear scene and one of the later scenes in the movie, so I'm not going to say about spoilers, but two of the most intense scenes I've ever seen in a movie ever. Like I was in a theater like crushing my hand as these parts are happening because I'm like you could hear everyone in the theater like holding their breath, and like every time something happened, the whole theater would gasp. Like everyone was like cringing and just like
Oh,
really,
man.
it was so intense. The bear scene was just like mind blowing. It was insane. They were amazing. It looked absolutely gorgeous. Donald Gleason looked awesome.
So
But-
from all of these, you've described something that should have been nominated for Best Picture.
But that's all it had. The characters were super, super simple. Leo wanted revenge. Tom Hardy's racist. Donald Gleason has like justice fetish. And there's this kid who's just a kid who's supposedly involved for all these reasons, though I never really figured out why he was all that important. And it's basically this. Tom Hardy made Leo mad. Leo went and found Tom Hardy. The end. Like the story was super simple. All of the characters were one dimensional. Like there was one part in the movie where Tom Hardy did like a little speech that was genuinely a really cool speech, and I thought that was really good for him. But it was just like super simple, and like I was lit down. Like I wished that like the story and characters were
Right.
even just half as interesting as how it looked.
I was gonna say that's interesting because coming from all the people I've talked to, they're like, The Revenant, you have to see it. Did you see it? Did you see it yet? I'm
I would
like,
absolutely say go
Right.
see it. I would have said go see it in the theaters. I don't know if it's still in the theaters,
I don't
but if
think
it
so.
is,
Sometimes they do those like second releases. I don't think it's gotten
if you
there.
find it, go see it because those scenes in the movie, seeing them in the theater was awesome. That said, I'm probably never going to watch The Revenant again because it'll probably never have that same effect for me as I saw it in the theater. I have like zero interest to ever watch it again. I got what I needed out of it. Probably never going to see it. I had a good time. The other movie that I saw was Hateful Eight.
That was
Super.
That
very
looks
interesting.
awesome.
super
I've seen
disappointing.
that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super
That one.
disappointing.
Walker's the wrong person to be talking about critically
Okay.
acclaimed movies too,
So like
because he'll just disagree.
a year
With
ago
everything.
Yeah.
on this podcast, we talked about the trailers coming out for Hateful Eight, and I was on board for a while,
Yeah.
and then they said that it was going to be 3 hours long, and I immediately was not on board anymore because Django Unchained was too long. It went on for way
Oh,
too long.
really?
It would have been way better if they just at least taken out like 20 minutes of like content in the movie. It would have been a much better movie. It would have been a much more solid movie.
What if they had said originally, like, what if they were like, all right, Kill Bill, we're going to do all at once, 4 hours? Would you
I haven't
say,
seen
no, I
Kill
don't want to see
Bill.
it then?
I haven't seen Kill Bill, so I can't really.
What?
I know.
You're
It's
the wrong person to be talking about movies then.
no.
Right, the Hateful Eight was Quentin Tarantino?
Yeah.
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 What?
I've
seen Quentin Tarantino stuff. I just haven't seen Kill Bill. Kill Bill was like the last thing. Kill Bill and Death Proof are the only things I haven't seen from him.
I mean, in hindsight, it's a little easier to say because if you enjoy them, then yeah, it's no problem watching it back to back. But if it had first come out, I think I can see your point. Like, yeah, our attention spans are so much shorter now. Like
Oh,
3 hours.
absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
I have this thing where I really like when movies don't waste time doing anything and they just tell the story. They tell it well, and then they're done with it. Like I really like.
So you
movies
don't
that,
like extra filler and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
I hate that stuff. I hate
Okay.
that. Like, so going into Hateful Eight, I said I'm gonna go see it in theaters because everyone else wanted to see it, and I figured at best it's still Quentin Tarantino. I've liked most of his movies, even the ones I didn't like.
Mhm.
So I'll probably have a decent time. No, not at all.
Really?
I went-
actually like the
See, I
Hateful
went
Eight,
in.
like-
I was going in. I thought like, but it's still Quentin Tarantino. I'm gonna have a good time. Did
Okay.
not. I really regret spending money on that movie. There was two good things about that movie. One, the music. The score was amazing. It absolutely deserved that Oscar. Two, I got a really big bag of popcorn and it was delicious.
Wow.
It was
Oh,
it was
really?
like
Thank
3
you,
hours.
Quentin Tarantino.
Oh.
3 hours of all this pointless crap that was essentially just Quentin Tarantino like, hey guys, hey, I'm the best. Like, hey, I'm really smart. I love doing all this stuff where I talk all the time.
Mhm.
So we're gonna do that for 3. Hey, no. Listen. I'm writing stuff here. Like, see this? This is cool. Like, hey, look. I did that. That's what it was. And it made me really, really, really mad. And it was not good. And I wasn't the only one in the theater who thought this. Pretty much the whole theater was.
You talked to everybody in the theater.
You could hear the disappointment.
Really?
Like,
from the silence.
Once you
everybody's-
got like, there's title cards that come up to say like part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4,
Okay,
part
yeah, I
5,
agree with that. That
and then
was-
final part.
that was-
Once we got to part 3, we were already like 2 hours in, and like everyone in the theaters kind of like leaned back and just started sighing. People started talking. Like halfway through the movie, nobody was really watching it anymore. We were just talking and just kind of making fun of it at that point. And when the final part came up, everyone in the theater started like yes. You could hear everybody like getting real happy. A couple of people clapped.
I kind of wonder what movie theater you're going to because that
Yeah,
sounds like
right.
a very interesting movie theater.
Usually,
Is it
there's
like when
not
Jar Jar was capturing.
there's
Oh my
usually
God.
not a whole lot of theater involvement, I guess, or what is the word I'm looking for? Usually the
No clue.
people aren't
Participation.
Thank you. There's usually not a lot of participation, but when the movie was that bad, everyone was like, we were all together in this experience of we wanted it to be over. There was an entire like 30 minutes of that movie that was pretty much just like, just in case you didn't understand my amazing storyline, let's go back and let's explain it for you just a little bit more. Just kidding. We're going to explain it a lot more just in case you didn't get it. But you did get it because it's really simple. It's Clue in a cabin in a Western.
You knew that's Tarantino's style, though.
I know, but he's a parody of himself now. It's like he's making fun of himself and he doesn't realize he's taking himself completely seriously, but it's not good anymore.
He does realize he's still making money. He's going to release another movie.
Of course he's
and
making
you'll
money.
go see it.
I
and hate it.
regret going to see it because that's $10 of my money that said this movie was good enough to go see it. And
Yeah.
I wish I hadn't gone seen it.
Don't you hate that?
Yeah.
Media, they just do their job.
What before we move on to Logan's topic, I'm gonna say one thing. I felt the same about Hateful Eight as I felt about Ridiculous Six. Adam
I never
Sandler's
saw
like
that. Yeah,
parody of it.
That didn't even look good to me. And I was just
These
like,
two are comparable to me.
okay. I actually like the Hateful Eight though, but that's all right.
I had
Move
more.
on
I
to
had a
different-
better time watching Ridiculous Six because it was only like an hour and 20 minutes long.
Well, I'm not an Adam Sandler fan, so
Neither
that's
am
probably
I.
Why?
You know what the real
That
problem
was
was?
that'll do
You
it.
did.
It's a distinctive style. Yeah.
I'm guessing you didn't go see it in actual 36 millimeter film. There's your problem.
Apparently, that cut
It
was
a
longer.
cinematic masterpiece.
Apparently, that cut was longer. So I'm really, really glad I didn't spend the extra money to go see that one.
Well, I know on the
I would have walked
on
out.
the premiere of it, they were showing 36 millimeter, and it like caught on fire. And halfway through, they had to switch to the digital HD version of
The
the
36 millimeter, the film knew that the movie was bad and it burned itself. It didn't want to live any longer with that film on it. It was so bad. So bad. 0 out of 10. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, onto a slightly different note. I'd say 90% of my time on the internet looking at or participating in technology related things, and kind of just what's been the major focal point of the internet over the past month and a half, going on 2 months, has been Apple fighting with the FBI about iPhone encryption, iOS encryption. And just for a bit of backstory, 2015, there was the mass shooting in San Bernardino, California. 22 dead, I believe. A dozen or so wounded. The 2 perpetrators were killed. The FBI, as law enforcement does, took all the possessions of the people who did this, went through everything, looking through stuff. And one of the things was the one shooter's iPhone that was issued to him through his workplace.
Mhm.
He worked for a local government branch. And so they wanted to get in the iPhone just to see what, if anything, was in there.
Nice.
So they went to the company's IT support help desk and had them reset the phone so they could gain access to it because there was a passcode. During that process, they turned Wi-Fi off or something that somehow when it came back online, iCloud overtook control of the device and they couldn't get into the phone without doing the after 10 password attempts, the phone's wiped deal that iPhone offers, which is a really great feature. So through their own blunder, which they've said it was their doing that this happened, they like locked themselves out of the chance to ever get the phone. So they went to Apple and said, get this phone open for us.
I've heard
And
of
this
this
is where this all
extensively.
starts.
Yeah.
Apple said, no, we can't do that. It's encrypted. We can't even break that. B, even if we could, we wouldn't give it to you. So now FBI is taking them to court and Apple's talking about suing back against the FBI. And it's this really big deal, but there's so little attention on it, which is almost worrying because the majority of my life is going to be spent with technology. So it's really relevant to me, but it's relevant to a lot of people
Absolutely.
who don't even realize it. Like, I don't think I've seen this on the news
I
in
I don't
while.
really watch the news on TV, but I have seen a bit of it online. As best as I understand this, correct me if my understanding is wrong at this point. They want Apple to make something that they can get into the phone.
Yes.
And then they also want from Apple like an Apple like identity sort of thing so that they can go in as Apple and get this stuff out, which then the implication is afterwards that the US government could then in theory send updates to all iPhones as Apple.
Here's the FBI wants Apple to give them access to this device. And Apple's saying that's not how technology works. You don't get access to one device. If we could make access, it would give you access to every device.
Right. It's that ability that actually doesn't exist.
Yeah.
They'd have to.
They're like,
and-
it's an all or nothing. You get access to everything or you get access to nothing. There's no in between here.
I remember I believe Tim Cook, the Apple president, spoke about this, and he was very adamant about not making a device. And I believe even some of the other big tech companies, Google, I think they've like stood behind Tim Cook as well.
Yeah, they're
Um,
getting backed a lot on this.
yeah, so like I remember this issue, and I'm actually glad you brought this up because um, I've heard about it, but I didn't really know where to look to find a lot of
Right.
information about it
In
because
very
all the media
obscure
is just
sources.
consumed with the presidential election and Trump
Ugh.
and Sanders and all this
Yeah.
craziness. So I think for me, I totally agree with Tim Cook. Like I think that because with the government, with any technology, it's not just like you're breaking into one. Obviously they always say something ever bad happens, the government always says it's part of national security. Well, if everything was part of national security, like why did this happen? Like they just need a reason to get into the phone. So I think that this issue is very, very important, especially for us, because like you said, our whole life is going to be dominated by technology.
More and more
Yeah, so
as we go along. Yeah.
it's going to be very hard. I I can't see where this is going. I honestly don't know. Um, but thinking of this, like this is really, really, really just huge.
And I mean, of course, there are outliers like Edward Snowden, who's come out and said, well, the NSA's had access to iPhones for a really long time. But the FBI, if there is a way that the NSA's gain access to phones, the FBI doesn't have that. The FBI is trying to get their own way into the iPhones. And it's really sad because, like, President Obama has essentially said, why do people even need encryption? Like, you don't need encryption if you're not doing anything suspicious. It makes you potentially dangerous. It locks up all of your information.
It's like part of that thing, like, why would you be like concerned if you haven't done anything wrong? It's just like a general thing, like privacy as a whole. Like if like you sort of just like throw that out, it just sort of sets a precedent where it's like nothing's private anymore. Everything you do is public to at least someone.
But isn't that kind of the dynamic that plays out on the front end anyway, right? If you take like Twitter, you take Facebook, don't we kind of just reveal our privacy anyway?
It's sort
Is there
of like-
still a sense of privacy?
I'm
Not
gonna
to get all
try-
Sex and the City
Yeah.
with my questioning, but
I think the encryption privacy goes a little bit deeper because it does protect your information that you would normally reveal, like a social security or something. But bank information, online credit card transactions, like
where you can follow
yeah,
the rep.
these are all
paper trail,
things
yeah.
that are encrypted. And the fact that the government wants access to have their own entrance into like any and all encrypted technology is what
And the
is
thing
really
is,
dangerous.
what's funny is they'll say the government, they're only want it for this one device, but somewhere along the future, when another incident does pop up, they'll use that as a means to bypass, if they, somehow
Yeah,
win
like
this
once
case.
they have
Yeah,
it,
because that's what always happens.
they'll
with-
be
you
like,
look
well,
at,
we
like, any
have it. We might as
technology.
well use it.
And
Right.
even if not, still the challenges, right? So Apple have, even if they don't know it, right? Let's say theoretically, maybe they have the resources to invent this.
Yeah.
Solving that problem, even if it only applies in that one instance, creates a foundation for anyone else to then go, oh, you can do this, we can do this now.
Yeah.
Right.
What else
Like,
can we do?
It sets a bad precedent for pretty much anything going on. from
And
here.
even just the way the technology is currently now, if something exists in the world, other people can get it. If Apple would create this device, there'd be someday, months down the road, we'd see Apple security breach,
Mhm.
unknown data stolen. That is going to include whatever encryption breaking mechanics Apple's developed. That's going to spread everywhere. There's going to be a lot more intrusion into the stuff that you really don't want people getting into. But the FBI is finally like taking Apple to court, demanding that they provide access to the investigation that they themselves pretty much bungled and ruined. And it's really bad.
So what do you think's going to happen? Like what?
I think the courts are going to side with Apple I think FBI is still going to do everything within its power to try to manage to get this. I mean, a lot of people have noticed how the FBI sat on the phone for months and months until Justice Scalia passed away. And he was a big supporter of the Second Amendment. And after he passed away, because this would go to the Supreme Court, after his passing, with his seat open and with him not being there and vocalized, now the FBI has come out and said, oh, hey, the government is coming down on you and saying you have to work with us. Had he still been around, there's a chance that they'd still be sitting back trying to not really do anything about this. But just the misconceptions spread about things like encryption and how people believe that it might not apply to their lives in such a way that they need to be worried about this, or even in such a way that they support the FBI trying to get Apple to force their way into this.
It almost seems like the sort of thing where it's like, it's like a fundamental like education sort of thing where there's not enough education out there about these things. So you get like all these misconceptions about it. Like maybe if earlier on in schooling, like there's a part where, like, I don't know, a privacy and security class where you go over like the basics of all these things to understand why they're there.
Even just sharing the information in ways that people do understand, like just describing what encryption is through analogies, such as, everybody has a lock on their house that is their own lock, only they have access to it. Someone down the street has a crime happen within their house. So now the police come and say, everyone has to install a second lock that the police have access to on their own doors. It's going to be a matter of days before someone's somehow gotten away into that police lock. And then suddenly they have access to everyone's houses and everything stored inside all those houses.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we should be hacking ourselves to actually figure out what our problems are. I will say, over the break, I got to see a taping of The Late Show with Colbert, and Loretta Lynch, Attorney General, was one of his guests. And though obviously they can't comment on ongoing investigation, her consideration of the issue and the way she interpreted all the problems did give hope that yes, they they understand some of those challenges.
Yeah.
And it's a really interesting, because I was thinking this, how does Apple make that case to the families of, let's say, a San Bernardino or a similar situation somewhere else? While I agree that, yeah, I think opening the phone opens up more of a Pandora's box. It is a really hard sell for Apple to be like, sorry, we can't help you.
Well, that's the thing. Apple, as far as they say, and as far as evidence has shown, Apple doesn't have a way to break their own encryption.
Right.
It's so powerful. Like, they don't have it. The FBI wants something that, as far as we know, doesn't actually exist. They want them to dedicate these resources to breaking down their own work and being able to get into it.
And Apple, with all its resources, I mean, if they can't do it,
yeah,
it's very unlikely that someone without those resources could do it.
And not to mention the fact that I believe I'm totally paraphrasing, but Tim Cook said that if they did somehow find a way to do that, they would be breaking the trust of all their customers, because they've repeatedly said, this encryption is very strong. It's not gonna, all your information is not gonna be out there. So to go back, and if there was somehow somewhere a way to break that encryption, then they would lose so much business. Their credibility would be shot. So not even the fact that, the implications for America, but just for that company in general would be huge.
I mean, they got some flack when they tried to add data with that U2 album, right? Not like taking data away. Who knows what? Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like even beyond them not having the ability to, I almost want to say, coming from myself, who has zero any type of criminal investigation experience, what planning do they think these people would have done on their company cell phone? Like, I doubt they would have been corresponding with other terrorist partners or writing up their plans on this device. Like they've said, they also picked up personal cell phones from these people, which would make sense as having been where the majority of any conversation or planning that they had about this took place.
I one more thing I want to ask before we go ahead and sign off here or whatever. But if FBI did like win this thing and got that from Apple, wouldn't that affect more than just America? That would be like an international,
Yeah,
like
I mean,
internationally, that would affect every Apple customer in the world.
Yes.
That's a
Yes.
very big precedent.
So shouldn't like other like country governments be involved in this?
the UN has come out and said that encryption is something that should be considered like a human right.
Okay.
Like personal data encryption is something that should be protected with every and all legal resources available. America just hasn't responded to that in the way that they should have. Obviously, they're still trying to press through and go with this. But there's just information updating daily on this battle between the two.
Well,
The FBI has essentially said Apple's in bed in supporting terrorism and is an anti-American company. Apple's responded by saying that the FBI messed up their own investigation and it's their fault that this happened. But I read there was an article 3 days ago, I think, just closing up. There was an interview with an unnamed government source who basically said that this hasn't been going the way the government expected it would. They thought they would have more people support for getting the encryption breaking from Apple.
I have no
They
idea
didn't
why
think
they would
everyone
do
would be
that.
supporting Apple and not supporting the government on this.
so maybe they'll catch on. Probably not, but
Probably.
Hopefully not.
well, let's hope that next week when we do this podcast, we still have access. We still have privacy for everything.
It's an interesting dynamic when you have the fervor of what's at the forefront of our conversation besides the debate or the presidential circus is, right, terrorism and the idea of foreign policy, even at the expense of domestic policy. So it's interesting when you have a fervor of we need to make sure foreign policy is safe, but not right now, right? Like obviously it's not that exact terms, but I think that could explain why the government may have been like, oh, where did all of our support go?
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we ended this on. We started on a bummer last time and ended on a bummer this time. Let's keep a.
It's a
But
good
this
bummer.
was a good topic
Yeah,
though.
it's
No,
really-
glad we talked
Quick,
about it.
let's wrap up with song references.
Oh, song references. Are we doing that again?
What do we want? What do we want people to listen to?
I have found a band on Sirius called Bleached. They kind of give me some serious Plum Tree vibes. Listen to them.
Interesting.
I've been listening a lot again through Tame Impala's newest album, Currents. It's still really good.
I'm like halfway through the 1975 new album.
Yes.
Here and there, it's okay. Still check it out. Just if you're a 1975 new, it's a UK pop rock group. So check them out if you so call like.
Well, I just turned 28 over this past Sunday, and I was thinking of Rickrolling Everyone because that was the #1 song when I was born. But I will say, still kind of a throwback mode, Jurassic 5. I believe it was one of their later albums before they took a break, came back on tours. Radio, I think it's one of their best albums they've done, so I recommend that.
All right, that was a better tone to end on.
All right. You wanna? What's our time? What did we hit?
38.
38. Oh man, that's 3 minutes longer than last time. Let's see if we can go 2 minutes over next time. All right.